Welcome everybody to the AIT Masterclass. This is the introduction. My name is Gareth. I'm part of the customer success team here at Atera. Joining me, I have my brilliant colleague, the ever rhyming Sarah from Atera. I'm going to ask that if anyone has questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. If there are any questions that we don't get to, please reach out to us or the support and we'll make sure that we come back to you with an answer. You should see that the poll is live. I'm going to ask everyone, we have kind of a poll at the beginning and the end. It's great, as I'm sure many of you are aware, here at Atera, we take your feedback really seriously. So I would appreciate if everyone could just fill out the poll. I know Sarah just pointed out as well that a copy of the recording will be made available for the webinar. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. I wanted to mention, or let's kick it off with a presentation. Give me one moment. Sorry, bear with me for 1 second. That's what I was trying to avoid. You should see a presentation. As I mentioned, my name is Gareth. Joining me, we have Sarah. I'd like to just kind of go over the agenda, what we're going to be covering for today, so everyone understands the structure of this webinar. As I mentioned, this is the introduction. So this kind of webinar is broken down into a two-part series. The first part is an introduction. It's quite high level. It's quite theoretical. The workshop that's coming up will be held tomorrow, where they'll go into kind of the actual demos and performances, but this is just a high level to understand the AIT. What is the co-pilot? What is the autopilot? What does it mean for you as an IT professional? Yeah, just some of the stuff that we're going to cover. I guess also, what are the features and what are the pain points that are solved with the Atera AI? So this is the breakdown of the two parts. I'm going to try go through the beginning relatively quickly, just to get through the pain points and the use cases. So I get to that relatively quickly. As I said, as I'm going through, if you have any questions, please throw them into the Q&A. I'll try cover if there are any that are left over at the end. We'll make sure to cover those as well. First, just some interesting facts. A small representation of Atera within the IT community worldwide. We have data to determine issues that are most common to IT professionals. The idea is to leverage AI to boost productivity, productivity and efficiency, with the common theme being that you have an all-in-one single pane of glass for IT professionals, making your workflow easier. We basically do this with through pooled data, having it in a single source. And as you can see at the bottom of this page, there's a number of awards. I'm not going to go through those individually. So a little bit of history. Atera began exploration of AI in 2012 with a vision for incorporating IT into IT professionals' daily workflows. In 2017, Atera secured a number of patents forming the foundation or the framework of where that vision would lead us today. An interesting fact is that in the same year, it was the first time that AI beat a human in a complex board game called Go. Anyway, 2020, and I guess between 2020 and 2022, we see an acceleration with generative AI, and especially 2022, OpenAI, becoming open for early access, and Atera as a system starts lending itself to those capabilities. In 2022, that became more official with a partnership with Microsoft, and again further accelerated with the explosion of and the availability of AI through ChatGPT, Bing, Bard or Gemini, DALL-E, and other generative AI pushing AI into the mainstream. What that resulted in is in 2023, what we call AIT was launched, an AI-powered IT management platform that offers just not software but cognition. And in 2024, we've really kind of boosted that with the launch of our Copilot. So this is really the game changer for us and for AIT, or AI powered IT as we call it. Okay, just on a very high level, the benefits. One of the responses we get is how big is the impact? And let's clarify that impact. Conservative estimates, we would say, are around 10x productivity. So whether you're an MSP or you're an internal IT department, having an end user have access to an answer within a couple of seconds, as opposed to sending a mail, opening a ticket, having that definitely 10x the productivity. This brings down average resolution time of tickets, and those open and close type of answer tickets, or even the more complex tickets where research or remoting in is required. I'm going to cover more about the impact and how that works in kind of elevating technicians and how technicians can leverage AI. But the idea is that AI takes the annoying or sometimes simple tasks or tickets and allows for quicker response and resolution times. Just kind of an interesting case study. These are some of the most common time-consuming requests that IT professionals face. These are kind of taken into consideration in terms of the solutions or the availability of resolutions with the Copilot specifically. The idea is that it provides for a laser focus to determine where the real issue or the problem lies, and what checks have been done by the time that the ticket gets to you, the IT professional. So in the same way as you would have a tier 1 give you a summary of the problem before it was escalated to tier 2, here you have that immediately. I think that's actually visually displayed here. So here it's visually basically displayed. The idea is that technicians are elevated from a, I don't know for either a tier 1 to almost a tier 2. And just a nice visual representation. Moving on to the actual solution. So the actual solution is broken down into the Copilot, which we'll be discussing a little bit more, as well as the autopilot. So I'm going to give you guys just a glimpse into what's coming in the future. The Copilot is the AI-powered troubleshooting assistant designed to elevate how IT professionals are resolving tickets, looking at alerts on devices, and device-related issues, as well as the generator. So, for example, the script generator, which is very popular, or the OID, the object identifier, can assist in kind of resolving some of those manual tasks or creating some of those templates. Also, the command line prompts. Sometimes we just don't remember those command line prompts, and it's useful to have to just be able to type a prompt and get those. This is kind of a representation of where the kind of Copilot and autopilots, different aspects sit. It represents how the single pane of glass is structured within Atera. So whether it's monitoring, patching, thresholds, ticketing, a help desk, network monitoring, analytics, and backups, the object is to streamline IT support by integrating AI-powered end-user assistance. Excuse me. Jumping ahead here. So just to cover some of I want to cover some of the pain points. When we talk about complex diagnostics, we're talking, time-consuming diagnosis of complex issues. So the co-pilot identifies um, suitable diagnostics for the issues as described by the technician or as summarized, providing an immediate resolution with a one-click button. When we're talking about knowledge gaps, encountering issues that might be outside of a technician's expertise, or for example, a new technician who may not be as familiar with the environment that users are within the environment that their users sit. And that requires ongoing learning to expand that kind of technical expertise. We're going to cover something else around the tickets and the knowledge bases. So that's a really nice example that I'm just going to put a pin in that we'll discuss later. The Copilot is based on a model of a wide array of data from the IT world. So that gives technicians direct access to information and solutions in areas that might be outside of their specialization. And then again, talking about kind of newer technicians or onboarding technicians. So instead of having a technician take a longer time to be onboarded to be fully au fait and familiar with a certain environment and the problems they've faced, a technician within a couple of weeks is learning the process and the problems a lot quicker. And even if they're not learning them, they have access to the solutions at their fingertips. For example, through internal KBs that could be generated via tickets. It's just one example. So those are kind of the main kind of pain points solved by Copilot. I want to discuss the actual features. So we discussed the pain points and what it solves. Let's talk about how do we do this. So in terms of the ticket capabilities, I mentioned the ticket summaries, and I also said we'd put a pin in talking about converting tickets to knowledge-based articles. So that's obviously something that is extremely useful, especially in the two examples that I've just mentioned, both for end users, not just for technicians. So, for example, it's at some point having the knowledge-based articles available ensures for both end users and technicians that we generate faster responses, faster solutions. Another nice use case is when generating a response, especially for technicians, not just the saving of time, but there may be technicians who, instead of making grammatical mistakes in their reply, or may have, maybe not the best tone when responding on a ticket, having the AI generate a response for you automatically resolves those issues. And that's something that can even be kind of filtered down, into the tone of the voice and how that response is generated. A major part in where we're seeing kind of a really positive feedback is the diagnostics on devices and the alerts. So the devices that are under your management, and that provides insight, or that's where the power of the AI can really be reflected. Instead of just having typing your problem into AI, which might be outside of Atera, here you're having the response given to you based on the diagnostic, based on the actual devices, based on the actual alerts that you're being given, or that are being shown to you. So yeah, that's really where leveraging the AI comes in handy. And then finally, as I mentioned, the script generator, command line generator, and also obviously the OID generator for things like like SNMP devices. So instead of having to search, sometimes that a certain SNMP device OID might not always be easily accessible, and sometimes people may have to go and look in manuals and search for those things. So just having the AI generator makes life a lot easier in that respect as well. I want to also touch base on the autopilots. I know I said I was going to just delve into that a little bit. So as I mentioned, we kind of break up the AIT umbrella under the Copilot, which has been released, and then as well as the autopilot. And again, the autopilot, the idea is that will serve as, you know, your kind of first tier technician. And the idea is that it will assist those technicians that may have been considered, you know, the first line of defense, to be elevated to the second line of defense, that they're not dealing with the basic issues that AI can solve, and they can then focus on either more complex tasks. Analyze issues and fix problems. I think those we've discussed quite extensively. But yeah, by having an agent on the actual devices collecting data, and having that access to information on your environments, can make it a lot more simple. So in solving a problem for the end user, even a simple problem, an end user complaining, I'm unable to open this PDF. Well, okay, you know, AI can do a scan and see, well, you know, you don't have the correct Adobe Reader. Would you like to install that on the device? And it will give the end user a solution immediately, instead of an IT technician having to open the ticket, resolve it, and deal with it. Yeah, escalation mechanism. As I said, having the power of AI in your pocket or in your environment available to all your technicians allows those technicians to kind of be elevated. And also, if for whatever reason it's not a simple solution that can be solved by the AI, by the time that ticket comes to a technician, this was the problem, this was the attempted solution, this didn't work. You know, that's been escalated, and they have a summary of at least what's occurred or what's been tried to done to resolve the issue. And obviously, the amount of time saved there is astronomical. If you just think about how often you're speaking to an end user, trying to determine what's the real problem here, what's the technical problem, not what you're telling me the problem is. And then finally, I think this number has actually been updated, but the bank of 500 checks and actions, so things like system checks or scans, etc. And that will grow in time as we kind of move forward, and the system is used by more users. Right, some takeaways. So yeah, I think I've covered most of these points, but just as the final takeaways, as rapidly transforming, you know, how people are doing their jobs, and especially IT professionals and technicians. We pride ourselves on being, you know, the real first and the pioneers of AIT, and this has been, you know, in the pipeline for a while. Our goal is to help and supercharge IT professionals, not just with supportive capabilities, but to go beyond that. And over and above that, for both whether, you know, MSPs or internal IT departments, the AI adoption is, and we're seeing it already, is having a massive impact on both the businesses, so let's say the MSPs, and for, you know, those internal IT departments in terms of their KPIs and what they need to achieve as IT departments, wholly speaking. Yeah, that's about it. I think I've raced through this quite quickly, and I'm going to jump to see if we have any other questions. I think it's also worth mentioning that within the next week or so, the exploratory phase, of Copilot will come to an end. So I strongly recommend all of those that have not played around with these features to really become familiar with them and play around with them while they're available. I'm going to scan through the questions just to see if we have anything that I've missed. I saw Brian gave some great feedback. Thank you. And by the way, I see, Brian, you mentioned the chess. Not only the chess is one, but the board game in, I think it was 2016 or 2017. I think it's the board game Go. Let's see. See, okay. Brian asked a question about the pricing, why pricing has not been fully released. You know, we're going through this phase at the moment. If you are interested in adopting the Copilot, as I say, reach out to Atera. We will speak to you about, you know, what your needs are, and that will be dealt with individually with people. The other question was capabilities. I see Sarah answered that. Yeah, will AI and Copilot portions be available separately, and ever to non-annual subscribers not being able to at least use the Copilot features on our monthly subscription? Okay. So for the moment, and again, this is subject to change, but the Copilot features are available on annual subscription. As I've said, there's obvious benefits in switching to the annual subscription, and this is ever moving. But if you are interested, either reach out to support or your CSM if you have one assigned to you, and we can, answer any of those questions around pricing individually. There's also going to be, I think, one other poll just at the end. So if you have any other feedback, maybe that you didn't cover, please be sure to post that. Don't see any other questions. Just give everyone a second. And if there's nothing else, I think that is it for today. I want to just mention again that this is supposed to be a high-level overview. We will be having the workshop with Rebecca, which is tomorrow. Even if you aren't registered for, someone that didn't register for this webinar, they can still attend the workshop. And thank you everyone for attending.